020-6659 or send an SMS to 555. Pan Africa TV, it just gets better.
So we're looking at those limits of accuracy, and we said the first thing is, what is that maximum error that you're going to make? Because if that's wrong, everything is wrong. That's where you need to start. So I think we should mark try now 23, and we start at 1D. Right, so try now 21, and this is then number 1D. Now it's try now 23, 1D. So this one is then 125 minus 25, and this one was to the nearest whole number. This was to the nearest whole number, which means the upper, we're going to plus or minus 0.5 for both of them. So this one is then 125.5 and 124.5, and this one then 25.5 and 24.5. This is minus, which means it will be lower, upper, upper, lower. This is what we should concentrate on now. And what does that mean? Lower, upper, upper, lower. That's what you're going to deal with there, like that. Lower, upper, upper, lower. Okay. Can you give me that one's answer? Number 1D of try now 23. That was on page 30. Exactly 99. 101. Right, so the next one is then now number 2 that we are looking at. Calculate the lower and upper limits of the following. This time it's to 1 decimal place. So it's 1.2 plus 7.4. What does 1 decimal place mean? Plus or minus 0.05. How do I get it? 0.1 divide by 2. That's how you get that one then there. So the lower and upper bounds here is 1.25, 1.15. There the upper bound is 7.45 and the lower bound is 7.35. And this is addition this time, which means lower, lower, upper, upper, 8.7. So 3.6 times 8.4, 3.6 times 8.4, this is to 1 decimal place, so it will still be plus or minus 0.05. If you made a mistake, that's where the mistake is, isn't it? So the upper bound is now 3.65 and the lower bound 3.55. Here the upper bound is 8.45 and the lower bound 8.35. And what will be this is a multiplication, so it's again lower, lower, upper, upper. Number C, 17.6 minus 2.8, 17.6 minus 2.8, this is still 1 decimal place, so plus or minus 0.05. So the upper bound here is 17.65 and the lower bound 16.55. Here the upper bound is 2.85 and the lower bound 2.75. Okay, this is subtraction. This is subtraction. Okay, and that, what does that mean now? Lower, upper, upper, lower. This is what we do then. Lower, upper, upper, lower. 40.7. Oh, 14. Okay, 14.7 is less than equal than x is less than 0.9. Okay, and then the last one, number D, 4.0 divide by 1.0. 4.0, it's easy to get the answer, but we're looking at that plus or minus 0.05. 0.05, that limit of accuracy that you have there, that limit there. So it's 4.05 and what is this one? 3.95, yes. You just add or subtract that. And this one will be 1.5 or 0.5. This is division, which means lower, upper, upper, lower. So you just add and subtract. Right, V. What is your lower bound? Lower, upper, upper, lower. But what is the lower one? 3.76 is less than equal than X is less than 4.26. Do you agree? Okay, now we move over to try now 24, which was the homework. 65 times 310. Now they say calculate the lower and upper bounds, each to two significant figures. If we look at those numbers now, they're not the same for two significant figures. Can you see? They're going to differ. They're not the same now. So if we take this one now, the 65, what will be to two significant figures there? What is half of the next unit? Plus or minus 0.5. So here the upper bound is 65.5 and the lower bound 64.5. And this one, there is two significant figures. What is half of those units is plus or minus 5. So for 310, it's plus or minus 5. So now the upper bound is 315 and this one is 305. So you might have mistakes now here with your homework. Look now carefully here. It's multiplication, so what will it be? Lower, lower, upper, upper. So lower, lower, upper, upper. That's how I'm going to multiply that. Right, who thinks his or her is correct? Yeah, you must be careful to see which one is the upper one and which one is the lower one. Okay, and it depends now if you multiply or divide or what. But here, lower, lower should give you that one. So look now at this one. Look at the method, especially if your work is wrong now. Then you have to pay very careful attention. 5,800 divided by 220. 5,800 divided by 220. Each one to two significant figures, okay? So that's now the first thing that we look at is where is two significant figures. Now for this one, there's two significant figures. So what is the maximum error here? 50, yes. So this one is going to be plus or minus 50. So the upper bound is 5,850 and the lower bound is 5,750. Right, now look at this one. There is two significant figures. So, what will be the maximum error? Yeah, plus or minus 5. So now the upper bound is 225 and the lower bound 215. This is division. So what must it be now? Lower, upper, upper, lower. So now we're going to do it like this. Lower, upper, upper, lower. That's what we do now. 25.56, okay, is less than equal than X is less than 27.21. C says 54,000 divided by 310. So it will still be a division sum. It is to two significant figures. What is the maximum error here? There's two significant figures. So what is the maximum error now? Yes, good. Plus or minus 500. So it means that the upper bound for that one is then 54,500, and the lower bound will be 53,500. Okay, now what about this one? There is two significant figures. What will be the maximum error here? Plus or minus 5. Will now be 315 and 305. This is division, so it's lower, upper, upper, lower. Lower, upper, upper, lower. Right, number D. D says 2.4 divide by, I'm just going to write it like that so that our limits are not on top of each other, is then 0.012. 0.012. Okay, to two significant figures. If this one is to two significant figures, what is that maximum error? Plus or minus 0.05. So the upper bound is then 2.45 and the lower bound is 2.35. Okay, if we look at this one, what is the maximum error? Yeah, 0.0005. Can you see two significant figures? The zeros in the front are ignored. This is two significant figures there. So now the upper bound is 0.0125 and here it will be 0.0115. It's a division sum, so this is going to be lower, upper, upper, lower. Lower, upper, upper, lower. Number E. Now here we've got three sums to do. It's 100 divided by, and I'm just writing it so that we can put those limits nicely there, 6.0 times 4.5. 6.0 times 4.5. So now we've got three things, and you'll have to do every one there. Okay, so to two significant figures, 5. 5. So that's 10, so half of it is 5. So the upper bound is 105 and the lower bound 95. Okay, now here, this is two significant figures there. What will this one be, the maximum error here? Come, remember it's half of that one. 0.5 plus or minus 0.05. This one becomes 6.05 and this one 5.95. Right, and this one, there's two significant figures, so it will be plus or minus 0.05, the same as this one here. So the upper bound for this one is 4.55 and the lower bound is 4.45. Okay, so now we have division and multiplication. Can you see? So which one will we do first? Yeah, the multiplication. The multiplication, and then I'll come back to the division. Okay, let's just get the sum there. So for multiplication, it is lower, lower, upper, upper. Okay? So what is lower, lower here? 27.53, and this is the lower and the upper one. Okay, so you just need to swap them now. So perhaps, let me rewrite it. What was the big one? 27.53. Now we have to divide. Now we're at this point where we divide. And now it is lower, upper, upper, lower. Which means lower and upper and upper and lower. Which you're going to divide. Okay, so 95 divided by 27.5 and 105 divided by 26. 95 divided by 27.53 and 105 divided by 26. 3.45 is less than equal than x is less than lower, lower, no, lower, upper, upper, lower. Okay, let's just look for our own benefit. Which one is giving you the small one? Yeah, but when you divide with a bigger number, that's going to give you the lower one. Because they like to ask this question with distance, speed, and time. And then they ask the least or the maximum one. So that just helps us to do that one. And the last one, then, number F, same thing here, 9.3 minus 6.5. So we will apply the same method as with the previous one. Okay, let's just still see. To two significant figures, what will be the maximum error here? Plus or minus 5. So the upper bound is 165 and the lower bound 155. Okay, now let's look at this one. What will be the maximum error here? Okay, now, but look now, I'm asking you now, there's two significant figures. What is the maximum error? Yeah, that's right, 0.05. So the upper bound is 9.35 and the lower bound is 9.25. And the same thing here. What is now the maximum error here? Yes, that's right. Plus or minus 0.05. 6.05. So the upper bound is 6.55 and the lower bound is 6.45. Okay, and now we can go to this sum. And so again, like the previous one, we're first going to do this part here where we multiply. What is multiplication? Lower, lower, upper, upper. Okay, so lower, upper, upper, lower, which means lower, upper, upper, lower. We first need to get those two answers before we can go. Can you see? You can't just do the sum. You have to do it step by step here. What is this then? Lower, lower, upper, upper, lower. Yes? 2.7 and 2.9. Okay. Now I go back to this one. It's still lower, upper, upper, lower, which means this one and this one. Right. Now, I would like you now that we look at number 25 because this is the practical ones that we are going to calculate the upper and lower bounds of the perimeter of the rectangle whose dimensions. Now, this one is 6.82 and this one is 4.24. And they say find the perimeter accurate to 2 decimal places. So that will be every time very important to what they say. It's not a general rule, depending on what they say. So the boys will know, for instance, if you measure the car's pistons, you must be very precise. If you're there out with a 0.0005, it's not going to work. On the other hand, sometimes if we make something, then it can be a little bit more the mistake. So what does that mean now? What is the maximum error that we have here to 2 decimal places? This is then 2 decimal places. I would like you to do this sum together with me. So what does that mean? It's plus or minus 0.005. Okay, there's 2 decimal places. Here the same thing, there's the 2 decimal places. So plus or minus 0.005. So they might be to the same thing, but they might be to different ones then there. So now here the upper bound is 6.825 or 6.725. And here the upper bound is 4.245. And here it is 4.235. And now what is, this is perimeter that they're talking about. So what do we know? What is perimeter? 2 times length plus 2 times breadth. So, and again, this is multiplication or addition actually. So it will be lower, lower, upper, upper. Lower, lower, upper, upper. Lower, lower, upper, upper, and you need to multiply it by 2 to find the perimeter. 2 times length plus 2 times breadth. But now you have to do it with the lower ones and then with the upper ones. So you can add the 2 and multiply it by 2, add the 2 and multiply it by 2, and then we add the whole lot because we want perimeter. Okay, what do you get? 21.92. I added the 2 and multiplied it by 2. Lower, lower. And then upper, upper, 6.825, and this one is then 6.815. 6.815, that's right. So the lower bound here is 22.1 is less than equal than perimeter is less than, and then the upper one 6.825 plus 4.245 times 2, 22.14. The formula is like this. It's either 2 times length plus breadth, or it's 2 times length plus 2 times breadth. So, yeah, no, not all together now. No, because it's perimeter that makes the difference. tenths. We're then doing the final sums now on this limits of accuracy. Then we'll go look at the Cambridge questions and we continue with a new one. So we are now looking at try now 25. And we did number 1, isn't it? Okay, so try now 25. And we look at question 2 there. You have this rectangle there. They love this kind of question. This one is 10 centimeters and the width is 7.5. Now they say calculate the upper and lower bounds for the area of the rectangle and the dimensions is to 1 decimal place. So we must read what is that rounding that they give you there. So to 1 decimal place here means it will be plus or minus 0.05. And here the same, plus or minus 0.05. So the upper bound is then 10.05 and the lower bound 9.95. And the lower bound there is 7.45. So what is area? Area is length times breadth. It's multiplication, so it will be lower, lower, upper, upper. And that means then here it will be lower, lower, upper, upper. That's how we will multiply that one. Lower, lower, upper, upper. Okay? Let's press our calculators. What is the answer here? Lower, lower. Yeah, I multiply the 2 lower, lower ones and then the upper, upper ones. Because area is length times breadth. Okay, number 3. Let's look then now at number 3. And we're looking specifically here because this is the kind of question that they ask. So number 3 says now, it is a rectangle again, and this one is 650, and this one is 120. Now they say it's to 2 significant figures. So where is 2 significant figures? There. So what is the maximum error here? And the same here, there's 2 significant figures, so it's plus or minus 5. So the upper bound is 655 and the lower bound is 645. Here the upper bound is 125 and the lower bound is 115. So what will be the area again? Area is length times breadth. So this is multiplication, so it's lower, lower, upper, upper. Lower, lower, upper, upper. Okay? Is less than equal than the area is less than 81875. So there's that one. There's then that one. The next one is number 4. Now for this question, they gave you the area of 100 and that side is then 10 and it's to 1 significant figure. That plays a role now all the time. So if it is 1 significant figure, it means it's there. So what will it be? Plus or minus 5. So the upper bound is 15 and the lower bound is 5. Here, that's where there's 1 significant figure. You must look at 1 significant figure. So this time it's plus or minus 50. So it will be 150 and 50 and 50. So here we've got the area, and area is still length times breadth. So now, but it will be division because you have the area here. So to get the breadth, it's division, which is then area divided by breadth, which will give you the length, or the other way around. And because this is the division, it is lower, upper, upper, lower that we're going to do here. So this is what we mean by that. Lower, upper, upper, lower, there. So 50 divided by 15, and then 150 divided by 5. So when you divide with a larger one, that's when you will get that minimum value. If I ask 3.3 is less than equal than the length is less than 30. It must be the area divided by the length or the breadth then there. Okay.
Come to ShopRite's birthday for more low prices. Like 2 liters Right Brand sunflower seed oil, only $44.99. And 2 liters Nami orange squash, just $22.99. Go Wololo with our more low price birthday.
Share with us on #LearnOn1. Tell us what you're learning and where you're learning it from. Send us your name and town to the One Africa TV's WhatsApp on 081-200-6659 or send an SMS to 555. One Africa TV. It just gets better. We always love to hear from you. Send us your views, comments, and videos with your name and town to the One Africa TV's WhatsApp on 081-200-6659 or send an SMS to 555. One Africa TV. It just gets better.
That I read you just now. So this is now try now 21, question 2 that we are looking now. Rounding to the nearest and then giving the limits every time then there. So here they say each of the following numbers is correct to 1 decimal place. I'm just referring to number 2. So then we have to give the upper and lower bounds of each one. So we mark number 2. I just want to take you back to the first one there. If you look at 2A, 2.8 to 1 decimal place means this 8 is the 1 decimal place. Can you see? So the maximum error is plus or minus 0.05. It's always half of that one. So it's the next one, the 0.05 there. So the upper bound here is 2.85. And the lower bound is 2.75. And if they ask you to give it the limits, we write it like this. 2.75 is less than equal than x is less than 2.85. So this is what we're doing now at this stage. The next first one now to mark is number 3. So if we mark now number 3, it's a mixed exercise. Now everyone is different, and this is what you should look at now. Each of the following numbers is correct to 2 significant figures. Give the upper and lower bounds and the limit. So the first one is now 7.8, and you should look very careful now at what we're doing today. So to 2 significant figures, that is 2 significant figures. So it means half of this 0.1 is then again the maximum error of 0.05. Can you see? So the upper bound is 7.85 and the lower bound is 7.75. And then if you write it in those limits, this is the limits that they are talking about, that you are writing it like this, 7.85. That's the limits. This is the lower and the upper bound. And that is the limits that they are asking you there. Right, the next one is number B. Number B says 0.28. This is where 2 significant figures lie there. So the maximum error is plus or minus 0.005. Do you understand that? It's half of that next unit. So the upper bound is 0.285 and the lower bound is 0.275. So your limits is 0.275 is less than equal than x is less than 0.285. This is where 2 significant figures lie. The zeros in the front doesn't count. So then you are quite right. It will be 0.0005. 3 zeros and then the 5, half of it. So the upper bound is 0.0375 and the lower bound is 0.0365. So your limits is then 0.0365 is less than equal than x is less than 0.0375. Number D. This time it's 36. It's a whole number. Okay, so what is your maximum error? Okay, so it's plus or minus 0.5. You're right. There's the two significant figures. So what is half of the one, that 1 unit? It's point. It's the first decimal that you have there. 35.5. So 35.5. So the limit is then 35.5 is less than equal than x is less than 36.5. So if we look now at this one, there is two significant figures. So what is plus or minus? 5. So the upper bound is 415 and the lower bound is 405. So 405 is less than equal than x is less than 415. If you struggle with these things, watch the lessons again tonight so that you make sure that you understand. And then the last one, 25,000 plus or minus. Now let's look at this one. This is where the two significant figures lie, is there. So this is actually 1,000 that we're looking at, isn't it? So half of it will be 500. So it's plus or minus 500. So the upper bound is then 25,500 and 24,500. A cook scales weigh to the nearest 0.1 kilogram. What is the upper bound for the weight of a chicken, which she weighs as 2.3? Now, 2.3 is the weight of the chicken. What do we do now? We take that 0.1 and you divide it by 2, which is what? 0.05. That 0.1 to the nearest 0.1 you divide by 2 and it's then 0.5. And then the upper, they just want the upper bound of this chicken, so it's 2.35. 2.35. Question 2. The capacity of a swimming pool is 630 cubic meters, correct to two significant figures. So if I take now 630 cubic meters, correct to two significant figures, so this is the two significant figures. What is half of 10? 5, yeah, plus or minus 5. And the question is calculate the lower and the upper bound. So the upper bound is the capacity, and this one is 625. And then they say using x cubic meters for the capacity, express the range of values in which the x must lie as an inequality. So 625 is less than equal than x is less than 635. Preferably they want the units. Then Lizette and Renier each measure a different millipede, and they both say that their millipede is 11 centimeters long to the nearest centimeter. So 11 centimeters to the nearest centimeter is plus or minus 0.5. The question is now, does it mean that both worms are the same length? No. And if not, what is the maximum possible difference between the two? So it means this one will be 11 and this one is 10.5. So, right, grade 10s, I would like you to look on the board on what we're going to do now. Now we're going to combine things. On the one hand, we're just going to do it with a sum. And on the other hand, we're going to do it with areas and stuff like that with different things. So look at the first one. For instance, this is just an example now. I have the number 2.3 times 6.8. Look at the board. It's still estimation, and they ask a question like this also, where they say, you must round it off to the nearest one significant figure or one decimal place or whatever. Estimate the value. I told you, this is when you are in the shop and you estimate what you are going to buy. Do you have enough money? Can you estimate that? Now, if they say this one is to the nearest one decimal place, then this one will round off to 2, isn't it? Because we're looking now at the nearest one decimal place. 2.3? 6.8. So this is 1 decimal place, so this one will be 2. 1 decimal place, this one will be 7. So we've estimated both of that values, and the answer is then 14. Now what we're also going to look is at this rule. If you add or multiply, it is lower, lower, upper, upper. If you subtract or divide, it is lower, upper, upper, lower. You will see if you don't do that, you get exactly the same answer. Then you must know you're going wrong here, especially with this one. So here it's lower, lower, upper, upper. So look at my example, and then we'll go to the book. For instance, I've got this area. This one is 8 centimeters, and this one is 5 centimeters. Both of them to the nearest centimeter. So that means my upper bound, my mistake, my maximum error is 0.5, which makes it 8.5 and 7.5. Here it will be 5.5 and 4.5. If I want the area now, we know area is length times breadth. So now I'm going to say, and look now here, this is multiplication, so I'm going to use this one. So lower, lower, and then upper, upper. And that's how you will get the inequality, because now I want the area, not only the side, but I want the area. 4.5 times 7.5. 33.75 is less than equal than the area is less than, and upper, upper, 5.5 times 8.5, lower, lower, upper, upper. Because you want area. Area is multiplication. Yeah, in this case where I know it's the area, then I use area or length or time or whatever, or egg. Now let's go to our textbooks, and this is now page 28. We're now on page 28. Now you will see there's a lot of examples on what I did with you now. Look at the bottom of page 29. There's a very important sentence there. Look in your textbook at the bottom of page 29. Do not round off your answer in a question on limits of accuracy. So don't just round it off, because then you are back to the original stuff. Hey. Okay, we're now on page 30. Calculate the lower and upper bounds for the following calculation, giving each correct to the nearest whole number. Okay, let's do this exercise in our books. Right. The first one says 13 plus 19. They say round it off, give the upper and lower bounds. Each one is to the nearest whole number. Each one. Look at that little sentence. So to the nearest whole number means this one will be 12.5 and 13.5. And this one will be 19.5 and 18.5. Because it's plus or minus 0.5. To the nearest whole number is plus or minus 0.5. And the question is, give the upper and lower bounds. So what am I going to do now? Lower, lower, upper, upper. So lower, lower is this 2, and upper, upper is this 2. It's addition. What is the two answers? 31 is less than equal than x is less than 33. Okay, I want you to try now 23, number 1 and 2. Let's quickly do them. And now remember, all the time, if it is addition or subtraction, it's lower, lower, upper, upper. And if it's minus or divide, it is lower, upper, upper, lower. This is what we should remember now. Okay, exercise 23. Let's just do the first 3 together so that you can understand, because I can see there's questions. So the first one was now that 13 and 19. Number B is now 135 times 25. So this is still to the nearest whole number, which means it will be plus or minus 0.5. So here it is 135.5 and 134.5. And this one is 25.5 and 24.5. So because it is multiplication this time, it's still lower, lower, upper, upper, which means lower, lower, upper. So the upper bound here is 134.5 and 133.5. So now let's try again to get the answers. 133.5 times 24.5, lower, which is then 3270.75. And then upper, 134.5 times 25.5 is equal to 34. It's the one that we had, 29.75. Number C says 44 divided by 11. 44 divided by 11. It's still to the nearest whole number. So it is plus or minus 0.5. So the upper bound here is 44.5 and the lower bound is 43.5. Here the upper bound is 11.5 and the lower bound is 10.5. But because it is division now, it will be lower, upper, lower. What do we mean by that? The lower one divide by the upper one and the upper one divide by the lower one. Lower, upper, lower. This is what we mean. So what is then 43.5 divided by 11.5? 43 divided by 11.5 gives us 3.783 is less than equal than x is less than, I am going to round off because it's an enormous large number. Yes, and then the next one is then 44.5 divided by 10.5. And that gives us 4.2381. So that's the answer there. Lower, upper, lower. Because it is division.
With over 300 games in 6 weeks, get DSTV to watch the best live football action.
Namibia is known for its beautiful wide open landscapes. However, these deserted spaces also pose numerous educational challenges in our country's rural areas. Because of this, many learners are denied access to proper teaching and learning. At EduVision, we believe that education is the starting point to a journey of endless possibilities.
Soon and very soon, we are going to see e-learning. Soon and very soon, we are going.
The plan for EduVision was to identify areas in Namibia that did not have the proper learning resources, a working school or an education center.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, we are going to see e-learning. No more
My name is Philip Smith. I'm the principal of Educate Academy in Otjiwarongo. The project EduVision, the e-learning program, started in 2017. With a project like this, obviously telecommunication, internet connection is a major thing that needs to be sorted out, a logistical challenge. And the fact that we chose Chunkwe Secondary School as the first school didn't make it easier for ourselves. It's very far from Otjiwarongo, it's far from Windhoek. So the internet connection was a big challenge first of all. So with the help of the telecommunications expert Paratus, they made this dream come true with internet connections via Windhoek, Otjiwarongo to Chunkwe and then back, the whole process. Like I said, it's interactive whiteboard, so the internet speed, capacity of the connectivity and so forth plays a major role. And so Paratus made this dream come true, and they were on board from the first moment. So very grateful for Paratus.
The project offers teaching assistance of a high standard in science to rural secondary schools within the learner's own community by means of e-learning. This entails the following: live transmissions of lessons from an equipped teacher in a different location to the students in rural areas, students using their own cell phone, tablet or computer to recall each lesson, and interactive lessons as well as the use of a smartboard as a teaching aid.
So if you look ahead at the next 3 years, we get information from the Ministry of Education. The future is very bright. So I think there's a lot of schools who can benefit from this program. Like I mentioned before, finances obviously plays a major role in a project like this. So we're very thankful for all the sponsors that are on board and still on board after almost 3 years of the project. So as long as people from the private sector can get involved, I think we can reach many schools in Namibia, because this project made a good start now. We're already seeing some positive results, and we can just call on all the private sector corporate sponsors to come on board and join in this very, very positive project.
It is EduVision's goal to prepare and guide learners in order to make the modern world they are living in accessible to all.
My name is Magdalena Neoma. I'm 18 years old and I'm doing my first year at UNAM Comansdale campus, and I completed my grade 12 at Chunkwe Senior Secondary School. I'm doing education, so I'm gonna teach at Chunkwe Secondary School, because there I really need to go there and motivate the learners. EduVision helped me a lot. It assisted us in teaching for mathematics, physical science, and biology. And it also, we get to exchange learning from other schools like Educate, whereby they teach us, and that's the most thing that we benefited from. Studying without EduVision was so challenging, and when EduVision was introduced at our school, things become more easier. The time where EduVision was not introduced, we were so slow in learning, and when EduVision came introduced at our school, my learning speed increases. Things were kind of boring, and when EduVision came, my mind changed the way I think. I'm really grateful for what EduVision gave us. Our class of 2019 was the first group to make it, to perform very well at Chunkwe Senior Secondary School. So it should keep up the spirit. We need that You should continue to support us.
EduVision aspires to ensure that equal opportunity is offered to every learner in rural areas to tap into his or her own potential while working in an environment which views disadvantages not as obstacles but as unique attributes that can be regarded as powerful assets when given the proper opportunity. At EduVision, we believe that dreams are the foundation of knowledge and hope always triumphs over experience.
No more problems. Everything is proper.
In a corner of southern Africa lies a vast and sparse land, where endless horizons, dramatic scenery, and untouched wilderness abound. (1,500 kilometers of harsh desert coastline, a mosaic of biodiversity, sub-Saharan savanna, acacia bushland, encased by 2 deserts. Home to wildlife and wilderness abundant, yet ever at risk. This is Namibia, home to some of the most noteworthy conservation success stories across the globe. Initiatives forged, manned, and driven by passionate individuals and groups.
People are busy there walking for more than 45 kilometers a day.
Special species and wild locations under constant threat from an increasingly destructive developing world.
One of the world's true survivors.
This is the story of the Namibian wilderness, the stories of the enigmatic wildlife and natural wonders of her realm.
They are not a threat to anyone, if you understand them.
This is the story of those determined to preserve it, and thereby themselves.
Don't think I want to tell my children one day that we had rhinos in Namibia. I want to show them live rhinos.
This is the story of the last defenders.
We have been tracked them for about 7 days, and on the 7th day, we come across the butchers, and there was a shooting. We are not armed. We having a camera and GPS. We are just hiding behind the bushes. If I don't protect this species, who's going to do that? So it's that why I sacrificed my life to go on conserve the rhinos.
Armed out in the field with basically a notebook against poachers that are armed with highly dangerous weapons and more. How is this an equal fight?
I started right on the ground as a tracker, and I worked all the way up to be the CEO now, and I know how hard it is. It's commitment and dedication and the patience that you have for the animal. It's really hard. It's like you had something in your house that you are protecting for so long, and when you go away from home, somebody comes and kills you.
not impossible.
I'm not a regular Joe. All these people know the old me's gone and dead like yesterday. I'm about to blow. Somebody clear the road. It's my moment. And I'm not letting go. I'm gonna rock you, rock you, rock you till you can't rock no more. I'm gonna rock you, rock you, rock you till you can't rock no more.
It's about time I rock. Been stuck in the dark too long, it sucks. So God, please hook a man up. Life at the bottom ain't fun. Got a son that's young and I hate to seem starved. Wish I could spend more time, but it's grind got me grinding, dip in the mud. Digging for diamonds, smiling, trying to get my rap on course. Just wanna see my family ball. Maybe damn we could all be involved. Right now we apart and it's breaking my heart. Wish I could take it back to how it was. Back when it was all about love. Now we all grown up with jobs and it sucks cause there just ain't no love. It's tough, guess I gotta go hard. Gotta stack gold bricks in the vault. Smile at some ghosts riding the roads. Couple states in the south and the north. Make wealth for my children's children. Drop platinum hits, let them feel me. I ain't never gonna stop till they kill me. It's the Boss 48, they gon' feel me.
I'm not a regular Joe. All these people know the old me's gone and dead like yesterday. I'm about to blow. Somebody clear the road. It's my moment. And I'm not letting go. I'm gonna rock you, rock you, rock you till you can't rock no more. I'm gonna rock you, rock you.
Y'all already know what time it is, man.
Till you can't rock no more.
It's been a long time coming. Really though, I ain't even frying. Fans asking me when it dropping. I kept telling them soon. I was straight up blind. I had no clue. I gave up trying. It's been a long road running. So cold, demons and ghosts troubling my soul. It was humbling, yo, but there ain't no stopping for me. Going hard as a brick, straight stomping his beat with kicks till it bleeds. I admit the defeat, but I'm back on my feet. But the work till it hurts. Put fire in every verse. Rhyme till my tires catch fire and burst. Rhyme till I'm tired and lying. The hearse. I'm a fire till your body's outlined in the streets. I'm a rider, still young, no retiring from me. Drop songs till you get tired of me. See signs your average rapper. I live you in awe, feeling for more. Search through your playlist, digging for songs by 48 peers. I know I was gone, but I'm finally here. Finally appearing on lyrics higher than roofs, shining the chandeliers. The West African vibe is here.
I'm not a regular